All right, today, good to see you. What we're looking at today is integration of stage one of the periodic table, all right? Or section one, stage one. So let's put that up here. Section number one. Okay, so three sections, one of three, all right? Three sections, we have one of three. So what are we going to do with this? Well, the integration is that each day you learned a certain amount. So for instance, on the first day, you learned 1 through 5, okay? Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, okay? Now, so if you were to have just gone to the second day and learned the second day's lesson without going back and integrating the first day's lesson, as you have been doing, I'm sure, it would have been very difficult for you to remember the first day. That memory would decay and you wouldn't be able to keep it. So the whole idea here is every day when you learn a new section, you start from number 1 at the end of the day and go all the way through to all of the elements that you've learned so far. Okay, so let's say you've learned 1 through 35 and all you're doing is working on 30 through 35, for instance. Well, near the end of the day, you start at 1 and go all the way through 35. You integrate that day's learning with everything you learned before. And that's one of the keys to learning. Because typically in school, students will learn material in 1 month or 1 week, and then they go to the next week, and the next week, and they don't even study what they studied 3 weeks ago until right before an exam. Well, what you want to do is you want to have consistency throughout. So then what we can do is once we get this integrated, 1 through 41, we'll have learned it pretty well. So that when we go on to section 2, this will be already integrated. It will be easy for us to now proceed on to section 2 or stage 2 of the periodic table. All right, so this is what I have written here on the board. We have 1 through 8, 9 through 16, 17 through 24, 25 through 32, 33 through 41, because that's 1 through 41 total. Now, I don't have the actual insignias or the labels that they have for the periodic table. I have simply for each element just the first letter. Just the first letter. I find that's sufficient for me because I just want to know where each element lies. Hydrogen is number 1. Where it lies, it's number 1, and just recall it. I don't want to know its insignia. You could, if you wanted to, put its insignia on the board instead. All right, that's fine. I find it easier to learn if it's just the first letter of the actual word. The first letter of the actual word. So for instance, gold, it doesn't even have G in it, okay? Okay, so with this, I will just put a G for gold, and it makes it so much easier for me to remember the start of that word. All right, so let's go through it, and I'll stand to the side here, and we have what? Out loud. Again, you all know by now that the learning has to occur out loud. If you speak it out loud, you hear it, it goes into different aspects of your brain, and when you make a mistake, you can also hear it. If you do it silently, sometimes you make a mistake and you don't hear it. You just simply don't seem to hear it. Here, we'll know if you hear it or not. Hydrogen, beryllium, boron. I made 2 mistakes there, didn't I? What were they? I know I made 2 mistakes. What were they? Helium and lithium. I left them out. Okay, let me start over again. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, boron. Ooh, I made another mistake. Can you hear that? What was the mistake? I missed beryllium at number 4. So you see, when you do it verbally, it just seems awkward. When you make hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron. I think I got it right that. See how that sounded better? So you'll hear the mistakes when you make them, typically speaking. When you make a mistake, don't get upset, just start over. Because what we're doing is we're making neural pathways. And if you make mistakes on a neural pathway and you don't fix it right away, well then it's going to be not really a strong neural pathway, is it? So whenever you make a mistake, and actually I don't care where you make the mistake. If you make the mistake at like 28, start over at number 1. Because you want to have a nice, fluid, reliable neural pathway that you're developing. So let's start. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron. Good, I got through that. Good. Let's start over again. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, sodium, magnesium, aluminum, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, argon, potassium, calcium, scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper, zinc, gallium, germanium, arsenic, selenium, bromine, krypton, rubidium, strontium, yttrium, zirconium, niobium. All right? We're going to do it again. The verbality helps so much. All right? Here we go again. And I'll point, like I just did, to each one so you can see. I'm going to stand out of the way here so you can see it. All right, ready? Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, sodium, magnesium, aluminum, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, argon, potassium, calcium, scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper, zinc, gallium, germanium, arsenic, selenium, bromine, krypton, rubidium, strontium, yttrium, zirconium, niobium. You see the facility in this. It all becomes one whole. It becomes just one bit of learning here, okay? This is basically 7 days of learning. And all of a sudden we're making it into one seamless whole. One seamless whole. Now you can go slower than I just did, that's fine. But this is what you want to work on. Nice and easy. Maybe take a break at the end of stage 1 here, at the end of section 1. So we can get this down very, very well, all right? So again, it's that whole repetition. And you space it out, okay? Now, my spacing that I like to do when I'm learning something like this is spacing throughout each day. That way you can learn this very quickly. There are some who say, well, you should wait a week. Well, if you wait a week, a lot of that memory is going to decay. So I like to have a daily regime, different times during the day, and again, maybe 5 minutes, 7 minutes. If you want to keep going, 12, 15 minutes. All right, then stop. You don't want to overwork the building of your neural pathway, okay? You don't want to stress that out too much. But different times throughout the day, so you can really accelerate your learning. Okay, that's the lesson for today. I hope you liked it, and we're going to have another lesson next time. Glad you're here today.